I definitely could meet with her anytime
Okay.
that she wants to. If she wants to come another time, if she, So, did you have any questions about Avery's report card or anything in particular that you wanted to make sure we talked about?
Just how he's adjusting. I mean, sometimes he does come home and he tells me that, certain people are putting his hands on him, but I don't know if, he's Mr. Innocent or if, I know how kids are. So that's mainly, if he's having any behavior issues or any trouble with anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's possible that somebody touches them. Sometimes they sit on the carpet and they're a little close. Sometimes kids will touch. I do try to work with some of the kids that you keep your hands to yourself.
Okay.
You don't touch their shoe or if they're too close to you, you don't just push them to get them out of your space.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that might not happen. That sometimes some kids have little touching issues more than others. Some kids would probably never touch anybody. They'll try to get them to use their words.
Okay.
The spaces on the carpet are a little snug for the kindergartners, and they're all different sizes. And so some kids take up more space, and they're not as careful about keeping their feet to themselves. I'm constantly reminding them.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll say, well, kind of move over. It's okay to be a little bit out of your space, on the edge. For kids who are sitting on the edge, to kind of move over so that, because this person needs to get their knee in your spot, which I try to say, we're trying not to touch or invade other people's spaces, but it's okay if they're sitting there and their leg is near you. But we don't want anybody purposely trying to push into you or annoy you or,
Okay.
So I try to teach them about, respecting personal space, but also not getting overly sensitive if somebody is into your little rectangle a little bit. As long as you feel that they're not purposely trying to bother you or hurt you or anything like that. One thing I did notice about Avery is he really cares about everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I really care about that too. And because I want everything to go smoothly, I want to be able to teach as much as I can. And he does tend to tell me a lot of what people are doing wrong. And so I do find that sometimes with kids who are really trying his best. I know he really stood out to Mrs. Callahan because he's just he wants to learn. He works hard. He tries his best, and so she fell in love with him. I mean, me too, of course. But she's like, "What's his name? I love him."
Now, what did she teach?
Mrs. Callahan is she has different roles.
Okay.
But one of them is she's the enrichment teacher.
Okay.
So some of the students she works with, she's giving enrichment to. Okay. And then she also has a little extra time in her schedule, so she spends some time with kindergarten.
Okay.
She helps us with technology.
Okay.
And she also sometimes helps to provide support with some kids who are struggling in different areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and she also helps with recess.
Okay.
She's very generous with her time,
Okay.
Because she has a few extra pockets of time, and she makes sure she uses it to good, to help the kids. So she's really wonderful. And so yeah, she's in love with Avery.
Okay.
Yeah, she just loves him, and he's such a sweet boy. He, just seeing his smiling face every day is really a joy.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
So, but I do want him to not be too worried about what everybody's doing.
He does that with his brother a lot, so we work on that at home. Yeah. We always try to tell him that worry about yourself, Avery. So we'll work on that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I want you to be able to take this packet home. It's academic scores and some activities for sight words.
Okay.
So he came in really strong with knowing a lot of his letters. A little bit weaker here in the sounds, but
Okay.
he's made a great amount of progress
Okay.
learning the sounds of the consonants. 23 out of 23. I think he's my only one that got 23 out of 23. So that is excellent, especially since he came in, with 8. 8 is not a bad start,
Okay.
though, kindergartners tend to not know their sounds coming in, or just a couple.
Okay.
So 8 was not bad, and then he really jumped up to 23. That's
Okay.
excellent. And then with the vowel sounds, that's a short and a long
Okay.
vowel sounds, he's now at 5. So that's a nice amount as well. I don't expect him to master them by November
Okay.
or December, as we're meeting now. So that was a nice jump too, from 0 to 5. Really good. We focused primarily at the beginning of the year on the short vowel sounds, and then later in the year on the long vowel sounds. But when they're when they're in writing that we're doing, or in our daily news, or in a book, we talk about them, so they are exposed to the long vowel sounds, and a lot of the words that they meet in kindergarten have that E at the end.
Mhm.
That changes that first sound, or 2 vowels together. That's what they see a lot of. And then what's this rhyme? Okay. Recognizes rhyming. Okay, so he got a, this was like a kind of a multiple choice thing. Do you hear rhyming? Do the 2 words rhyme or not? Yes or no? And he would say yes or no, and he got all of it correct.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a guessing, like for some kids it could be that they're guessing and they can get a pretty good score, but I doubt he would get 10 each time unless he really was doing pretty good with rhyming. And this is producing rhyming words. So he has to come up with a word that rhymes. For some reason he went down a little bit there, so I retested him.
Okay.
And he knew a rhyming word for the word he missed the first time around. He used a 9-cents word. This with me, and at first he was going to say, I don't know it, and I didn't want him to give up too soon, and I understood when he said his word, don't remember it right now, but it was a nonsense word. I think it was bot, B-O-T, because it rhymed with hot or rot or something like that, and he was sort of saying, well, I only know a word that's not really a word. I said, that's okay. So I was thinking that he passed on it, like with the other teacher who tested him, because he knew it wasn't a word. And so I said, nonsense words, or these words are fine. Because even as adults, I realized, if you had to give a word, you might not, the first word you think of might not always be a real word, depending on what the family of rhyming words is. So he was able to do that. So, and kids are not consistent. Sometimes they're tired, or they don't really feel like thinking about it. So there's different reasons why they get things wrong. So, but anytime someone goes down, I like to relook at that and see why that is, because sometimes it's just being after our kids. So at the beginning of the year, or in the summer when I forget when he was assessed, but we did not assess these 3 areas. Partially due to time. But we wanted to do it this time around. They're pretty quick to do. Blending offsets and rhymes is when I say a word in parts, like it. What's the word? So it's a phonemic awareness skill. So he could get it correct 4 out of 5 times. And then blending phonemes to produce words is almost the same, but it's broken down into smaller parts. So like d. So 3 parts there. What word is it? You got all of that right. And that's a bit harder. So, 9 out of 10 correct for those tasks. That's really good. And then reading decodable words. He got 5 out of 5. So this is the same as this one, except this time he's reading the words. And when we have him read it, we have him say the sounds first and then say the word. So this is something we just introduced recently. The program doesn't have us introduce it till now, but we introduced it sooner because at the beginning of the year when we're working on just letters, I would have the kids write or find letters, and like find the letter that says and they would move up the M. Find the letter that says ah, move it up. What's that? Oh. And then so we will put a P next, and then let's look at that. Op, mop. What's the word? Mop. So it's showing them how you can have 3 letters and then blend the sounds. So he got a 5 out of 5, which is really great. It's the beginning of the year, just November. Wouldn't expect him to be able to get everything correct with this, but he did. He had all the sounds.
Okay.
You know, he said them separately and then blended them, and he could get all the words.
Okay.
So really good. So the reading seems to be his thing, although he's pretty good with math too. So that's the decodable words. This is concepts of print.
Okay.
So it went up a little bit. He came in pretty strong with 10.
Okay.
So it's most cases when they don't get the last one, it's just the punctuation.
Okay.
You know, what does this punctuation mean, and
Okay.
you know, why would we use it? Now with the math scores, again, how he came in, and so he can name his numbers really well. And then with counting, he got up to 100 this time. This is counting with one-to-one correspondence. So they also have to touch objects. We just give them a sheet of dots, the 31. And they have to make sure they're only touching each dot once. They don't skip any dots. And they say all the numbers to 31.
Okay.
So it's not unusual that when they get to close to 31, they either skip a dot, or they get a little careless, or they don't know what's next, especially if they got to 29, they might not know 30 is next. But he came in and did pretty well with 27, so now he's mastered that. We won't test that anymore. The shapes, his score is about the same. It is the same, but I don't know if it's the same shapes or not. So this will show you like what shapes he had trouble with. He did not know these 3.
Okay.
So those are very common to do.
Right. I don't even know if I know those.
Yeah, I know. So the rhombus is the one that looks like kind of like a diamond.
Okay.
So we just say, if he says diamond, we say, what's the other name for it?
Okay.
And kids tend to get it that time, especially not so much this marking period, but the next marking period.
Okay.
And then trapezoid would be this shape.
Okay.
It can be flipped in any direction.
Okay.
And then hexagon, just the 6 sides.
Right.
They tend to confuse that with octagon.
Okay.
Because they just guess at it.
Right.
You can guess at circle and square, but hexagon, you got to count the sides.
Okay.
An octagon, that's what I realize they're doing. They're just spitting out whatever comes to their mind first, and it's usually octagon for hexagon, because they probably hear the word octagon more because of the stop sign or something. So it's okay. It's not a big deal. We wanted them to know the 4 basic shapes.
Okay.
This year's group, great with the oval. Some years nobody knows the oval coming in, but pretty much, you know. So he could do what he could do.
Okay.
What he needed to be able to do at this point in the year. And then the other things was counting. He would count by tens. We do that with our calendar activities. We also count by 10s and 1s, but I didn't assess that because it was just really introduced. And he count by 2s. Have you ever done that with them? Because we haven't worked on that.
He does it a little bit with my mom, I think, and his mother. So, you know, he likes to play like little games like that.
Yeah.
So he's into his numbers and stuff.
Yeah, and then he counted by 5s to 40.
Yeah.
So this was not an expectation at this time, but he could do that.
Okay.
That was really good. So most kids, I didn't even introduce it. So unless somebody was really doing pretty well with their counting skills, we weren't getting into this other counting. So that we didn't test everybody on that. Just whoever seemed like they might have a chance of knowing that. And then this is the area that, you know, most kids seem to need to work on throughout the year, the sight words.
Okay.
Because even as he goes on the first grade, there'll be more sight words.
Okay.
So we're not going to stop teaching him sight words even when he gets to 40. So I have another game like this with some more difficult words when he's ready for it.
Okay.
This is just a game he can play at home.
Okay.
There's like directions here.
Okay.
But basically he reads the word, you know, put them in a pile, put them in a bag or something like that. He reads the word and then counts the letters. If it's 2 letters, he can move 2 spaces. And I was just telling that other mom that was here, you know, you could count 1, 2, and then I thought, wait a minute, maybe even better to do we,
Okay.
W-E.
Okay.
Now that's your space.
Okay.
We, you know, and then the, T-H-E. You move 3 spaces because there's 3 letters, but spell it. Instead of just saying 1, 2, 3, say T-H-E, the.
Okay.
And then now you move there.
Okay.
And you would play with him or another person, you know, child or brother or sister or something like that. And then he knows almost half. So the first 2 lists, he may know a lot of those words. He may know some further back too.
Okay.
Put in what he knows and then add some more of what he doesn't know.
Okay.
But you don't have to do the whole packet like in one shot because there's going to be too many words he doesn't know yet.
Gotcha.
And you can add any words you want to the blank ones. It just was an extra card, so I just left it blank for you guys to add.
All right, very good.
Lots of those.
Okay, all right.
And then this is just a way to practice the sight words where you're doing some motions.
Okay.
They're spelling the words. I've read about it. Spelling them helps you with learning the sight words. So these are just some activities to do while you're spelling the sight words. You should be looking at the word and doing the motions and saying the, you know, say the word, spell the word, say the word. That's how I do it.
Okay.
And so I keep forgetting to start. I do other things, like we sing songs and do other activities and we have games, but this one I haven't started yet, so I wanted to start that with the kids. Because sometimes that's like a little movement break, you know, well, we're still working, but we're taking a break because we're doing something fun like jumping.
Okay.
And so I gave you that. I didn't give him the rhyming game that I gave some people because, you know, he was good with rhyming, but I can if you think you want that. But he seemed to be pretty good with rhyming. So anything else? Did I show you his writing? I don't think I showed you his writing. No. Do you have time for me to show you?
Certainly.
Okay. All right. So this is his assessment. Where I read to the kids. Take a quick peek. Good. And about turkeys from a nonfiction book that I have, and I gave them lots of ideas to write. And I said, so I want you to write something or several things that you learned from the book about turkeys. And they're like, oh, we can't do it, Mrs. Davis. So I showed them, or modeled, I didn't really show them, how to sound out the word turkeys. Because they all will be writing about turkeys. This is something I modeled before, but they needed some reassurance. So I told them, when you're trying to sound out a word, you're going to be saying the same word over and over again. The first time you say it, you think about the first sound you hear. And it can be kind of tricky sometimes, but like you say, turkeys. And you try to emphasize or make it louder or stretch it out a little bit, that T sound. And then I said, then you write the letter you heard. And then you say it again, you try to emphasize a middle sound, turkeys. And then write that sound you hear. Don't worry too much if sometimes it's a little bit out of order, but turkeys, because, you know, now, what are you going to write? Turkeys. It's an S sound. Sometimes it's like a Z sound. And sometimes they hear the E, you know, they're not going to really know the U. So what we don't want to do, like if you ever work with him at home, is say, because when you say turkeys, you don't say turkeys. That U is kind of joined, like say it's glued with the R, and you don't really hear that. You know, you hear the bossy R. So you wouldn't want to try to like turkeys, and then you know how there's a Y at the end. Yeah. You wouldn't want to say yeah to get it right. That's something that if you wanted him to write it with all correct spelling, because whatever reason you need him to have correct spelling, then you would teach them, you know, this is one way to make the long E sound, E-Y. There's other ways, like E-I, or, you know, you could show them a couple ways. But just kind of use it as a teaching moment rather than telling him that he should sound it out by doing you know what I mean? Because there's no sound. It's silent. You know, the E is silent. So anyway, he wrote, turkeys are females. Turkeys have babies. Now, I did want to get back to him about this because the book talked plenty about male turkeys. So I wanted to make sure he understood that some were males. Turkeys can fly. Turkeys puff up wings. their wings.
Okay.
Sometimes they miss a few
Yeah.
words. Did a really great job. He had 4 ideas down,
Okay.
and you know, I just want to make sure he understands this one, but there was probably something else. It talked about the females and how they're different from the males in terms of like their feathers and things, and but maybe, you know, I don't know, but it's probably not a big deal. But turkeys have babies, so they mentioned that. And you know, sometimes with little kids, sometimes like what seems obvious is like maybe he realized, you know, they learned that over time, like, you know, like, yeah, not just people or not just like animals that I see regularly, but even turkeys, wild turkeys, which the book was about, by the way, not farm turkeys. Turkeys can fly, and that was a new thing for parents, for not parents, I guess I'm getting tired, for the kids to realize. Some of them are like, no, you know, we don't think they can fly, but they can fly up to trees, and sometimes when they really need to get away, they can fly a little bit of a distance, but they're not like long distance birds like geese or anything, and they don't tend to fly as high as some birds do, but they can fly to protect themselves when they need to. Chickens too. Turkeys puff up. Anyway, so yeah, I like how he's leaving spaces between his words. He is using a lot of capital letters, so we're going to work on using more lowercase letters. But it's really amazing that he's doing all this great spacing. He did forget periods at the end of his sentences, but I don't think anybody remembered that. I really don't. So that next time around, you know, the periods, that's, to me, that's like an easy one. The spacing is a hard one. And it really helps us to be able to figure out what he's writing. So that's really important, but that takes kids usually a long time. And then so what I thought he needed to work on was like the picture, you know? And sometimes what we do in kindergarten is we realize, you know, it's like we're not art teachers, but helping them learn to draw some things really helps with their writing because it builds their confidence. And then they can apply maybe what they learn about drawing. We didn't do it with a turkey, but I thought we should. But even though it was after the fact, I'll ask them if they want to learn how to draw a turkey or some other animal or bird. But so we do sometimes have like drawing lessons, and then we'll write about that. So I think, you know, he could use a little help with the drawing. Maybe, you know, maybe even add the legs. And the beak maybe, and maybe some background, what's going on here. Like they fly up to trees, maybe a tree in the picture. But the main thing I look at is the writing. So, you know, if they can't draw that well, it doesn't really cause a, you know, it doesn't affect his grade or anything like that. So he got a 5, and that is really good for this time of year. Because he, you know, he worked independently on that. He had some sight words, can have. He didn't have the E on it, but he was attempting to use, I did suggest using R, like turkeys are, turkeys have, turkeys can, and he, like I told you before, he tries to like do what the teacher says to do. And I gave it as a suggestion to help them, you know, when kids are like, I don't know what to write. Well, think about what turkeys have. Maybe write about what turkeys have or what turkeys can do, you know, to help them out. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with his work. He's making nice progress. He's a really nice boy. The only thing I can say really to work on is like he seeks a lot of my attention. So a lot of kindergartners do, but he just does it a little bit more. Sometimes for like tattling, and sometimes just to tell me things and stuff like that.
But
so
we're working on that with him.
And I really apologize for you having to wait. And I'm trying to figure out how to, like, there's always somebody that's late, and then they showed up, and I don't want to turn them away, and they're like, how do you get a conference done in 4 minutes, and whatever, you know. And so I really am so sorry. I wish I had more time.
It's fine, no.
Everybody.
It's fine, no. It's fine, and I appreciate your time, and I do have to go rescue him. Thank you so much. All right.
Say hi to your wife.
Will do.
We'll see her next time. Or she can contact me.